In this video I want to take a look at the Casio VZ-1's external phase mode when using 4 oscillators, and I'm only going to look at the mix mode and mix mode and phase mode on the individual oscillators, so I'm ignoring ring mod in this video. So there's 4 combinations, so mix phase, phase mix and phase, and I will go through them one by one. So when we have both sets of oscillators in mix mode and we have external phase on, then what happens is that 3 is just a regular oscillator, 4 is a wave folder, and 1 and 2 are regular oscillators that get mixed together and sent through the wave folder. Now, one thing we need to remind ourselves of is that a wave folder doesn't make sound, but that's not how it works on the Casio VZ. So if you only turn on the wave folder, internally the synthesizer will still send sound through it, through an oscillator that's always on, and in this case that's oscillator 2. And we can check that this is oscillator 2 by changing its pitch and seeing that the sound changes pitch. So oscillator 2 is always on. If we turn it on properly, then we get a full blast of folded sound. We can see that we can vary its level, and the fold amount changes. And at level 44 it stops changing. That's because that's how they implement the always on. Its level can't go below 44. So let's take that away. Now add oscillator 1. So again we get full folding, and we can take its level down. And now it's completely gone. So oscillator 1 you can completely fade down to 0, and oscillator 2 you can't. You can see that something happens in the lower range of the fader, and that's not the case with oscillator 2. And then oscillator 3 is just a regular oscillator. How do I show that? I can turn everything off. We hear it and there is no folding, so it's already at full level. That's just a regular oscillator. So that's the combination of mix and mix. Next one is mix and phase. So that means that oscillators 1 and 2 are in mix mode, 3 and 4 are in phase mode. So what we get is 3 oscillators that get summed together and then go through the wave folder together. And again, one oscillator is always on, but this time it's not oscillator 2, it's oscillator 3. This is one of the very confusing things about this synth, is that the always on oscillator moves around. So now we have just oscillator 4. There is sound, so where is it coming from? Well, it's oscillator 3, so let's see if we're editing oscillator 3. If I change its pitch, we see that that's indeed the oscillator we're hearing. And if we turn it on properly, go to the envelope, then we see full wave folding sound. When we turn it down, we again have the effect that between 0 and 44 nothing changes. So let's leave that at 0 and add oscillator 2. And now we see nothing because oscillator 2 is at level 0. But if we increase its level, the sound wave gets bigger because it's the same frequency. You don't see the second oscillator because it's the same frequency as oscillator 3. But if I would change its pitch, you can see it on the scope. So oscillator 2 is mixed in there now indeed. And when its level, you get wave folding again as expected. And oscillator 1 behaves exactly the same, so we can mix it in. Oh, we have to turn it on first. It does wave folding, and there's an effect all through the range of the slider. Let me increase the pitch again to show that more clearly. See, at these very low values, something already happens. That's because for these oscillators we have the full envelope range, but for the always-on oscillator we can only go down to 44. Even though the screen says you can go down to 0, it stops changing at 44. Okay, that was mix phase. Then we have the other way around, phase and mix. Let's set that up. So the first two should be in phase mode, and then the second two should be in mix mode, and of course we leave external phase on. So what's happening now is that 3 is just a regular oscillator, it's because we're in mix mode. But oscillator 1 is going through 2 wavefolders in series, 2 and 4. And the oscillator that's always on is oscillator 1. That's kind of logical because it seems the Casio wants these things to make sound, even if stuff is turned off and this is the only thing that can make sound, because 2 is also a wavefolder. But let's check that. If we turn 4 on, we get sound. And the sound that we're hearing is coming from oscillator 1, which was still at harmonic 4. So what else can we do here? We can turn oscillator 1 on properly and we will get a lot of wave folding. Or not. Because we have to turn oscillator 2 on as well. It's still at level 0. Let's go to the envelope. Yeah, level is 0. I think we can do more wave folding, because this one is also still at 0. Nothing changes until we reach 44. There we go, now we get double wave folding. And this is 2 wave folders in series. So to control the fold depth, you need to control the level of both oscillator 1, because that controls how hard this wave folder gets driven, and the level of this thing sits after it, and that controls how hard we're driving oscillator 4. And oscillator 3 is just a plain oscillator without any folding, and we don't hear it because its level is at 0. We have the full range of the level slider, and it's not doing anything fancy. That was phase and mix, and then finally we get phase. Let's set that up. So 3, 4 needs to be in phase mode, and 1, 2 is in phase mode. Okay, so what's happening now? Everything we hear is coming through the final wave folder, and we have a choice between the signal from oscillator 3, which passes just through that wave folder, and we also get mixed in the sound from oscillator 1, which goes through a double wave folder. And the oscillator that is always on, earlier it was 1, now it is 3. Now this one is always on. So let's see if we can hear that. See, we only have 4 on, but there is sound. And if we check where it's coming from, Yes, that is oscillator 3. And what else do I need to show now? Well, the full folding amount we can get here. Let's see if we can see that on the screen. This is at full blast, so we get this. And if we try to turn off oscillator 3 and instead we do full blast on oscillator 1, we have full level here. Oops. And full level here. So this is 3. That's just one wave folder. And this is 2 wave folders in series. So that's crazier. And that's it. Those are the 4 combinations you can make with mixed mode and phase mode. I think the important things to remember are that the even ones become wave folders, and there's always an oscillator that's always on. It moves around, very annoying, and you can find out which one it is by changing its pitch. And that was it. Thank you for watching.